Yeah.
Ooh, coming in from outer space.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, okay. I have the electrician showing up at, here, let me just change this. It just came off the shortly. And so let me just go to blur. There we go. So I was logged in on my cell phone as well, just in case I had to take it out back. But that's just gonna cause an issue. So I apologize if they show up and they have to disconnect.
No, no worries. I have no idea. I have no idea if anyone's gonna show up.
Oh,
Other than
well,
you.
it's you and me.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah.
have a great half hour. Good to see you, Stephen.
Good to see you too. I'm sorry I look like a raging hobo here. At least it's hobo, not homo too. But like,
Oh, you got nice. You got a little rough.
yeah,
Good for you.
but I know I've got to shave it. I was gonna shave. I was gonna shave, but I got really productive today, and then I'm after this week. I don't know. The election kind of really set me back. I don't know if you know that I worked for him. Did I tell you that?
No, you worked for the organization, the Trump organization when you were
No,
in Toronto?
I
Ooh.
was a sous chef in one of his hotel casinos.
Oh, which one?
The Trump Castle on the Bay in Brigantine.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
I'm surprised well, they all went bankrupt, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, remarkably so. Atlantic City, and all that stuff.
Well, it was also a million years ago. And of course, I don't know him, but his wife was actually the food and beverage director, manager, whatever. She was head of food and beverage. She worked there, and they lived there in the summer, in a triplex on the roof or towards the roof. Anyway, and his yacht was there and that sort of thing. But honestly, if you would have told me that he would be the leader of the free world, um, I would have never guessed it.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, only the Simpsons did.
I know. I love that's a fascinating meme too. So anyway, it just was a little discouraging. You know, I'm a dual citizen, but it's like, my whole family's in Florida.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it was a really interesting indicator as to the degree of an echo chamber I
yeah.
was in, because it felt like, uh, you know, I didn't, it took me by surprise.
Yeah.
So,
It took, I mean, I think that's what was so kind of um devastating. Some people are really upset, as they should be, but also you're right. It was like it's how many weeks did we sit through it's a statistical tie, you know what I mean? Like over and over and over again.
yeah, and it turns into a historical event.
Well, I also think, and I mean, everyone has opinions on this, but I'm kind of over it, and I hope we all get over it soon. And also, Mr. Trump's advice really is be careful what you wish for, because good luck, you're now expected to solve like pretty big problems. You know what I mean? Like quickly. Anyway, but I saw a chart, and Robert, it was 50% of the US civilian population cannot read above a sixth grade level.
Yeah.
Now, That has implications, does it not?
Yeah, it's that was an astounding stat to see. I think I came across it as well. And yeah, yep. It really does lead you down a rabbit hole. That's
Ah,
for sure. Boy, you hope, well, maybe the advent of everything that we're exploring these days will, be able to bring some accessibility.
I hope so.
Raise,
I do. I do. I absolutely do. And I'm still I'm a hopeless optimist. It's just enough to kind of give you like a day or two of just like, holy shit, what's going on in the world? But and I was just today, I don't know if anyone's going to show up. We've had two, three, four, five show up over the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to keep doing them, as kind of drop-ins.
yeah,
Um, because I do think like with AI especially too, it's this scattershot of knowledge and permutation and implementation, and there's no real consistency to it. I think I told you I did a training session for the Toronto Star,
mhm.
and it's some people are using it, yes, people some experience, but some has one model, then there's all this confusion about what is legit, what do I own, what is mine, still at a basic usage level. And then meanwhile, screaming along at breakneck speeds is this conversation of agents. You know what I'm reading on my I bought a new monitor, so I have another big ass monitor here because I was just like, I like screen.
Nice.
The Magentic one from Microsoft. Have you looked at the demos?
No,
Holy, maybe I'm overreacting. I mean, it was published November 4th, so we're not falling behind here, Robert. But I just put a link up on the lab because there's demos of the platform and the platform working. And it's a task, and then there's the orchestrator, then a file surfer, a coder, and a web surfer, and then a computer terminal. These are I don't know what they're calling them. I guess elements. Anyway, you know what I'm saying here. So then,
a
AutoGen, it's
full
called.
multi-agent system,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, a multi-agent system. But it's one thing to talk about it, and it's one thing to look at the code of it, when you were, you with the hackathons and watching the programmers work with it, it's one thing to see that. It's a not entirely
that's right.
other thing to see a platform in English, you know what I mean? And watching it actually go from task to task. That's what
Yeah.
the videos are. Later on, go take a look at it. I put it up on the lab.
Wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait to take a look at it. The multi-agent systems and the multi-agent frameworks that I've used and been exposed to, it is they haven't been that polished,
Yeah.
major corporate effort. And so yeah, I'm looking to see how I mean, even OpenAI, I think, only announced about 3 weeks ago that they were opening a team for multi-agent collaborative efforts, mass multi-agent systems. So yeah, so they've caught on that's the perfect blend between using specialist models and agents that are narrowly highly skilled in very specific things, and being able to spawn them, call them in for certain tasks, and orchestrate all of that. That's yeah, I mean, that's the important the impact of what AI and models have is mostly defined by when a new model comes out, what role it can impact in the ecosystem of a multi-agent system.
Right.
So when reasoning models come in like an O1 preview, and they're able to play that orchestrator role really, really
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, because
everything.
yeah, I mean, and that's the missing piece for like a marketer who's technically savvy, you know what I mean? Being able to say, oh, it's one thing, and I mean, I'm generalizing, but I think you'll get the drift here. the initial, like the Zapier, automation stuff where, but I mean, I've looked at a little research about that, and also I know people have used it and we've tested it in previous work environments, fine. And yes, they work, but every single piece along the way has to be perfect, and you have to know how the system works. You know what I mean? You can't, it's
Not
just not.
natural language yet.
No,
Yeah,
no, 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 no.
it's
And you need to get into the
dial.
nitty, yeah,
Yes.
and you need to get into the nitty gritty of the settings and the implementation. With anyway, I'm enough of an expert to kind of figure out that's the case. But when I just saw this platform going, it's for my simple brain in many ways, it's like, oh, this.
Cut that all out.
Yeah, and then it has that reasoning step, whereas if it fails here, it goes here, or asks you this, that.
Recursive. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Put together the function code, save it over here. I'll come back to that later. All kinds of, it's incredible. Like, it takes the gloves off. It really does take in terms
Yeah.
of the impact,
That's
societal
a great,
impact.
that's a great way to actually phrase it.
Yeah. The impact in a working environment and what it requires to run a great organization well when
Yeah.
you use tools like that, because it can reach out into an ecosystem and determine what tools are available to it within the guardrails, and
Right.
start to manage its own iterations of new workflows. Log it all, you've got all your transaction logs, you can see all the steps, all those kinds of things. The capacity of these things are tremendous.
Well, okay, so I'm watching another one now, and I'm trying to do it just as a short one. Oh God, and I do want you to take a look at these. I know you will, because also it's kind of funny because I, of course, thinks this is ancient news in some ways, like you know what I mean, and
If you
it's
put your head down for 5 days, you're out of touch.
well, right? No, really, it
Yeah,
really is.
that's how it
Um,
goes.
So this video was describe. You're so funny. Describe the trends in the S&P 500, and I'm watching the video now. It's a short video, but it's 24 seconds. But the orchestrator is the prompt engine, and
Yes.
then it spits out a little bit of code, and then the executor ran this code and go back. Yeah, I mean, and anyway,
Yep.
I,
Zoom, zoom, zoom. So
yeah.
there's the pressure point. We were having a conversation, Stephen, and I've been looking forward to sharing this with you. How, well, actually a few things, but one, I was talking with fellow Bensi Cernak. He's in the Hacker group as well.
Mhm.
He's in the UK, and he was talking about the 3Ds of the moat, defensibility of your new business models. And I found it so entertaining because he had listed, and this is through the community in the UK as they've described it, data distribution and design as being the three most important elements for a new business model. And I thought, boy, that sounds a lot like marketing.
Yeah.
Data distribution
Yes.
and design. It's just like, hold on a second, you know.
Well, not to bounce around, but you'll get this too. I need to post the video, but it hasn't been put up on YouTube yet. But I sit in on these events with Elena Yonosov. I think that's how you pronounce her last name, from the Human Feedback Federation. She and I spoke at a panel. You've seen the name, I'm sure. And the Human Feedback Federation has this thing called I can't remember the name of it. It's on this platform called Paperclip or something, and it's the events, blah blah blah, and they invite writers of academic papers and scholar AI papers to present their work, and it's fascinating. Again, sadly dorky of me, but there's always some nugget of interest there, right? With these papers, and to have the authors there to discuss, it's really cool. It's a great series, and the only reason I'm mentioning is because I want to tell you. I haven't posted the video because I looked and it wasn't up yet, and it was the New York Times and the MIT I forget the name of the organization, looking at how the models were trained by scraping all the data, scraping everywhere. But they did it very, very deliberately. And then the whole approach was restrictions using robot.txt and then other exclusions to now wall away content to be stripped. But the takeaways were fascinating, but also the fact that some just ignore the request completely no matter what and just grab everything,
Yeah.
as you can imagine. But they had an amazing series of charts showing how the models will now be restricted from training a lot of this data.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. They're gonna have to find that middle ground as everybody sort of explores what
What it's
the
worth.
the legal compromises,
Yeah.
between the birth of a new technology, a new era in civilization, and genuine, real, genuine, legitimate, you know, absorption of intellectual property rights. And in creative property rights. I mean, I'm not a
Yeah.
marketer and I'm certainly not a lawyer, but I think fundamentally the idea that these great models were trained, these big models were trained on everything that they could get their hands on,
Yeah.
really ought to mean that it's part of the commons and we all own it and we should all benefit
Right.
from it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can find a lawyer to be on any side of any equation.
That's right.
Right.
I hear they're good for that.
Yeah, that's what they specialize in that arguably. But you're right. I mean, being the optimist about this, you want to think that real human generated content or insights or value or artwork is in fact now up to be valued in a different way,
Mhm.
um, which is a huge undertaking, as you might imagine. I posted on the site this morning too that a painting, an AI generated painting, just sold for $1.8 million. Go to
As an
it,
artist, I'm amazed.
yeah.
But yeah,
And it was of Turing, the computer.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Anyway, but anyway, we're jumping
Awesome.
around. But back to the agents discussion.
Yes.
See, like, I mean, so in many ways, I think there's a lot of confusion about this now. Like, that's what I posted on LinkedIn is like, there's platforms coming out with agents, there's these multi-agents approach, some of the courses I'm sitting on, I'm told you I'm sitting on this one at Berkeley. It's about, and your hackathon folks, it's more about creating agents and writing, programming the actual agent mechanism. So there's a lot of confusion out there.
Yeah, and that's sort of like the realms of you talk about agentic design. In
Yes.
IT, we talk about agentic engineering. And
Uh,
there is a lot of confusion around what agentic is, but I mean, that's the ability to take in information and make decisions and then take an
right.
action. Um, but the multi-agent, and this is something that, I think we've both spoken to many times in your community in the ME plus AI and around, is that a lot of the conversation about the capacity of models is about a direct one-to-one interaction with a model on chat on OpenAI. Like literally asking a question of GPT-4 and getting a response back. And that is the tip of the needle.
Yeah.
The tip.
Yeah.
The ecosystems that are built by layering, prompt
Right.
training and iteration, and now spawning up these agents that are interacting with each other. That is a completely different
Yeah.
and much more powerful system. This
Well,
is just like the
it, it,
tester.
it's also like it opens up millions of permutations in so many businesses, and especially though marketing, we're going back to marketing for the right reason in a sense, you know, And it was actually it was one of your sessions. I remember it was maybe 6 months ago. I can't remember now, but I sit in on a fair number of them. And it was Reuven. How do you say his name?
Yeah, Reuven Cohen.
Yeah, yeah, and they were talking, and it was I one of them said, "If only we had some marketing use cases for this." And I remember thinking, "Oh my God, I'm the guy, I'm the guy."
Ding, ding.
But
Yeah.
for example, just to pull out a use case, the ability for personalization on demand for big ticket items, right? Like, you're Ford, you want to buy, or we want to sell you a pickup truck. You're actually in the market for a pickup truck. I mean, I worked for car brands. Getting people in the showrooms now, literally, you have to carjack them and reverse to get them to the showroom. So the idea of like the ability to hyper personalize a, a video spot, a microsite, a landing, from a landing page to a full-on experience for that sales on, like, you know what I'm going with this.
That's right. Oh, I love it. I love it. And that's something I wanted to talk to you about too, is exactly that. Oh, okay. I gotta hold that one. I've got Reuven calling me at the moment.
Oh, all right.
Can we
You
pause for 2 minutes?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna open a glass of wine. Let's.
Wonderful. Okay. I'll be right
All
back.
right. I'll pause the recording.
So sorry.
No worries. No worries at all. I'm happy, and I did pour myself a glass of wine. There you
Oh,
go.
nice. There you go. You can tell who's the tail and who's the dog, eh?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, also, I hate, we'll get back to this topic at hand, but, I also was just so sick of politics. I'm kind of a news junkie too.
Oh, yes.
Um, just because I am, I'm like, and it was an exhausting campaign.
Oh, yeah. It starts early.
Yeah.
And there was an awful lot that took place over the last year.
Yeah. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. All right. Let's get back to what we were talking about. The thing that I need to take away too is you mentioned agentic engineering, which is now something that's clearly defined in my head too. You know what I mean? Because there's and these terms, it's another thing too. I mean, you may or may not agree with me. The product naming is like just ridiculous now. And there's, the model names and then the product names, and now they're going to have to name this stuff, and it's an orchestrator. Like I can just, the teams must be scrambling to name these things.
What's the term that's going to stick in and all that stuff. Yeah. With the agentic engineering, I mean, so how we've come to see it is the point of differentiation there is it's not building agents, and it's not just
Right.
building multi-agents, but the agentic engineering specifically in the IT space is building agentic systems that build things.
Ah,
So we're building the constructors.
right.
We're building the developers, we're building the architects. And so the tools like Cursor and Aider and Klein and Claude now that you're able to interact with the PC, and it's all those tools that allow you to construct software. This is fascinating, Stephen, because what it does is it puts the pressure back on the marketing. Because what
Yeah.
happens now is
Yes.
the barriers to technology, as that comes down, I mean, you still have to be an absolute expert in your fields. So brilliant engineers are now able to use these tools, and they're 10, 20, 30 times more productive.
Right.
You can develop the regime for using software like we used to use. We use documents. You have
Right.
executive summaries, you have
Right.
decks, you have presentations, because it didn't make sense.
Contracts. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It didn't make sense to develop an app for a 1 hour meeting,
Right.
but now it does, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that changes, and then and so you have as that time compresses, what that means is that now the choke point is removed, and the choke point of creativity, it now moves to the rest of the
Right.
organization. Now you're
Right.
like, okay, well, the software guys are able to develop software like 30 times faster. We can have stuff
Right.
delivered in days. What are we going to do with this?
Right.
Now you got to like iterate and A/B test, and how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to need more data.
Yeah.
So the momentum, the capacity for an organization that's looking to level up because
Right.
of the implications of these systems, it lands right back in the marketer's lap. I just wanted to.
Oh, oh my God. Yes, I totally get it. And also communications and product naming and UX and UI. Like you
Yeah,
can't like
all new
if you
set of
build a
tools.
shitty 10-minute an app for a meeting and it's still shitty, you got a shitty app.
That's right.
Right.
Shitty 10-minute app.
Yeah.
That's right. The
Yeah, but
ability to hyper personalize, to develop the tools that are able to do that in a responsible way.
right.
But so there's all these other dimensions to that you guys can explore, or you folks can explore in terms of because the value case, the use case doesn't have to be of tremendous value anymore because to
Right.
deliver a software solution is less expensive.
Well, and look, the closer you get, let's go back to the car dealership
Mhm.
again. The closer you get to creating the impact and the effect of basically a test drive on
Yeah,
demand, right? You know what I mean? If
that's
that is right,
yeah.
and you're absolutely right. It goes to like, say you're going to build this experience, it's still got to be on brand. It's still
Mhm.
got to be branded effectively. The tone and the communication needs to be hyper personalized, but it also needs to be appropriate
Spot
and
on.
targeted and segmented appropriate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you know it's a man of a certain age, would there be children in the creative? Not or not. Those same decisions or that same oversight needs to apply. But think of the change that needs to happen all the way through the business models.
Yeah. And so now I would imagine marketers will come to need, not just for the competitive sake, but just to maximize the opportunity of the speed of software, to
Yeah,
use multi-agent systems in order to be able to explore all the different options that they might have,
yeah.
because we can serve up packaging so much quicker.
Well, and also, the how do we use the digital assets we have, the data assets, the brand assets, the imagery,
Mhm.
or are they created on demand? You know what I mean? Using other tools, all those things apply. And what is, yeah, I know it's fascinating. I mean, I can't, I mean, it's the reason I'm here. I'm just obsessed by this. I cannot stop thinking about it. And it's one of the reasons I'm glad we're talking because this just clearing up this area of what's coming soon because, I mean, Robert, are is your sister-in-law ready to have her Expedia book her trip to Europe using a screen agent? Like, right? Or are you ready for it to fill out your adoption application? Like, personal or sensitive or how much, where are the banks involved? How, right? You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. Yeah, and shush, Toby, sorry about the Chihuahuas. Um, Orion's coming,
Yes.
right? February, I think, probably after the swearing in. And yeah, and that is most likely going to be that fully evolved on your PC, any device you want, interactive. You choose, where the lines are as far as your personal data
Right.
that you're going to infuse it with or enable it to access, and it will be capable of spawning those multi-agent systems in order to undertake long-form tasks.
Right.
So that
Now,
is
so that just I have one very tactical curiosity about that.
yes.
Like, is that one endless page of checkboxes, or is it like an interview with the model? Do you see what I mean?
I,
Like,
yeah, checkboxes is in permissions.
yeah, and
Yeah,
setting, and like, you know what I mean? Can't, anyway, you know where I'm going.
probably not. It's a really good insight. It ought to be, but I hope it's not just one checkbox. It's like
Right, right. No,
or
well, no, well, because also think of it, it's either more of an interview with the model divining the important responses,
yes, that's right.
or you're editing the goddamn list of checkbox every 10 minutes for the next 10 years.
Yeah, you're right. Just say it's so it's an interview configuration
Me exactly. Like
with
so.
sentiment analysis and psychological profiling.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We won't get that, and God knows what. Anyway, the reason I'm curious about this is because it just is. It's going to unleash a huge amount of reevaluation of AI, because suddenly it's going to go, like you said, most people are still using it input, output, chat, cut, paste, you know what I mean, in and out, like not enough context. I keep saying this to everyone I talk to. Models thrive on context. You cannot give it too much,
Mhm.
right? And so my point here being is, uh, everyone's gonna realize, oh, it's here in that way we were worried about in so many ways.
Yeah, I think we now know what Ilya saw, and it's been 9 weeks since the release of the first large reasoning models in public,
Right,
and we are seeing the impact of those models and their ability to architect, a general framework within which agents can build out software, and so we're watching that evolve in real time.
right.
And this is a preview of the model that is already trained and in hand. So yeah, there is now we're seeing what multi-agent systems are capable of doing when they're in the open. Like in other words, there's full transparency as to what they're doing. We can see the conversations that we're having with each other.
Right, right, right.
Um, you know, but that's a layer of curiosity that we're looking at right now that in 5 or 6 months nobody may bother to do.
Right.
We're just having the interaction and it's going off and making our dinner reservations in Europe when we arrive. You know, it is a heck of a thing, and again, we stay optimistic. And it is a remarkable exercise to try and step into that setting
Yeah.
and understand, when you have such an incredible tool set, how does the world work?
And it's important, again, I mean, we'll end on this because it's positive, but you can't stick your head in the sand about this at all. I don't, it's still happening, I'm afraid.
Mhm.
Um, of course it is. But it does, but it also does beg the bigger question is, and I know you and I have talked about this a little, how do we use this to make everyone's life better as much as possible, right? Because we're not known for our best tendencies, unfortunately, as human beings. But you know where I still view this as a huge benefit to civilization, and I think it's important that that word get out.
Absolutely. I was speaking with a fellow the other day, and the only thing that we're uncertain about is the period of time of the transition to because scarcity is to a large degree just it's an administrative problem.
Right,
Scarcity of knowledge, too much of a gap between what things actually cost and what they're being sold for. Yeah, there's a lot of money that gets made that way, but there's a triage that can take place. And so it's the from here to there part, it's the in the middle part that we've got to really come together about. But The tools give us the ability to tackle those problems at the same time. At
Right.
the same time, they pose the challenges and they turn on the lights. They also give us the ability to really postulate what are the options and how to deal with it. I mean, I'm a Star Trek fan, and that sounds ludicrous to have in this kind of a conversation. And yet we know there, if there's going to be a future, which there
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
then it's those things are going to be solved. And so it's the transition that is difficult. So yeah, we
That's an important
absolutely
thing.
have to keep creating on the positive side, creating tools on the positive side. And yeah.
Well, and that's again, just to finish up too, that's kind of why Liz and I started Me and AI, just to have a community discuss this and be current in many ways. It's not because the rate of information and change is different now, and the organizations to support it. And what you were just talking about, the tools are going to help us along the way too. It's not an us versus them. They do work for us.
Mhm.
Still.
That's it. That's right. Knocking on wood.
All right. I'm gonna end it here. Hold on.